So, gonioscopy is one of the pillars of glaucoma diagnosis, but it is also one of the most underperformed tests in glaucoma. And I had some thoughts on why people don't do gonioscopy. So, what I did is I had a Google form and I requested colleagues in Bombay to fill it, and about 70 ophthalmologists filled it, and so of which around 81% were people who were comprehensive ophthalmologists or those who were practicing another subspecialty and also treating glaucoma patients. 11.4 were self-trained glaucoma specialists and 7% were fellowship trained glaucoma specialists. So, which gonioscope do you use when I asked? So, it was very gratifying to know that 66% used a indentation gonioscope, but however, we have to note that 8.7% did not even own a gonioscope, and every ophthalmologist treats glaucoma. So, this 8.7% are going to be missing a lot of angle closure glaucomas, misdiagnosing them. The second question is, do you perform gonioscopy in every glaucoma patient? And it was 1/3 of them, more than 1/3 did not do gonioscopy in every glaucoma patient. And when I took away those who were glaucoma specialists, this number increased to 40%. So, 60% are doing gonioscopy and 40% are not doing gonioscopy in every patient. And when asked why, what was the reason? So, I have difficulty in performing. The main thing was, however, I am able to judge angle closure by looking at the anterior chamber depth. So, that was one of the main answers given by those who did not do. So, difficulty in performing gonioscopy and I am able to judge angle closure by anterior chamber depth is what are the two main reasons why people are not doing gonioscopy in every glaucoma patient. Then I had asked that what was an impediment to learning gonioscopy, what according to them. Now, these three were the answers which I had provided and they had to tick, and there was also a chance for them to write their own opinion. So, there were many opinions which I got, that it is time consuming, laziness is an impediment, but many of them agreed that it is difficult to self-learn and there is nobody to handhold and teach, and the view in the mirror is different than what is seen in photographs. So, with this background, I started making that how do you master gonioscopy. So, the first step to mastering gonioscopy is to get started. That is what I felt from this particular questionnaire. And the first is that the belief that gonioscopy is an absolute must to treat glaucoma and desire to manage glaucoma correctly. If you do not have that desire, you are not going to even get started. Then second is, you have to know that anterior chamber depth is not a surrogate for gonioscopy. You can go wrong if you just use that as a substitute for gonioscopy. Second is, the third is, it is difficult to learn, maybe, but if you can learn phaco, then you can certainly learn gonioscopy. So, that means the will to learn a skill, and then finally you have to buy a gonioscope and of course use it in patients. So, this is what it takes to get started. And what are the aims of gonioscopy as regards glaucoma? So, to determine if the angle is closed or open, one, then to look for signs suggestive of intermittent closure, and thereby you will be able to classify angle closure disease, diagnose plateau iris syndrome and look for other pathologies or abnormalities in the angle. This is the these are the aims. Now, many ophthalmologists ask me, is it mandatory to use an indentation gonioscope? Though it is not mandatory, it is highly desirable to use an indentation gonioscope, and I will tell you why. Now, this is an angle which is closed, you are not able to see any angle structures, but if you use a non-indentation, you cannot do anything beyond that. You do not know whether this is a synechial closure or whether this is an appositional closure. So, but when you have an indentation gonioscope and you indent, you will realize that yes, now you are able to see the trabecular meshwork, it is merely a appositional closure. Also, you will see there is a small Yes, a goniosynekia here, you will see it here. Yeah, there's a small goniosynekia which you can see only with indentation, and that immediately puts this person in another category of angle closure disease. And this is what, that's why indentation gonioscopy should be done. Now, once you have a patient, you put a gonioscope inside the eye, what do you start? You should start by having a full illumination, a thin slit, and a slit which does not reach up to the pupillary border, and it should be a dark room because you don't want the pupil to constrict and artificially open up the angle. Now, what do you do? Which mirror? This is what I have picked up from the net. So, I will just, so this is what you identify. This is the anterior segment, this is the posterior corneal surface, this is the anterior corneal surface, and this is where they meet, and this is the corneal wedge, and this is the Schwalbe's line. Now, why is it necessary to do this? Is because many times in angle closure, you will have a pigmented Schwalbe's line, you will mistake it to be a trabecular meshwork, and this is exactly what has happened, that this is a very darkly pigmented Schwalbe's line called the Sampoilez's line, and you may mistake it to be the trabecular meshwork and label a closed angle as an open angle. So, once you have seen the angle, you have seen the corneal wedge, you have made sure that it is a closed or open angle, then you widen the slit, and then you go about looking at the different structures. For example, this is again a pigmented Sampoilez's line, and this is the Schwalbe's line. Then you have the trabecular meshwork, then is the scleral spur, and then is the ciliary body. You have to remember that all the angles, the angle 360 degree will not be the same, and hence it is necessary to see in each of the mirrors and note whether the angles, what is the trabecular meshwork pigmentation, whether it is open, if there is any iris processes, whether there are any goniosynekia. Multiple iris processes is one more thing which you can mistake to be goniosynekia, but however you have to remember that they are very fine arborizing, and moreover they will not impede or restrict the movement of the iris when you try to press. So, this is one way where you can differentiate iris processes from goniosynekia. Now, which is the grading system you use? Most of the patients, most of ophthalmologists, when they talk to me, they say it's a grade 4 angle. Now, you have three kinds of, one is you have Scheffers, Schees and Spates. It's difficult to remember. The grade 4 of Scheffers is completely different from grade 4 of Schees. Spates is the most complete description, but what you have to do is, you don't have to remember which, you just describe what you see. So, for example, in this angle, what I am seeing is ciliary body is what I have seen 360 degrees, pigmented Schwalbe's line which I am saying, moderately pigmented trabecular meshwork, and what is the flat iris insertion, whether it is convex, whether it is flat. So, this way you completely describe the angle, you do not have to remember any grading system. Same thing here, that you just describe what you are seeing. In the superior angle I am seeing, in the inferior angle I am seeing two pigmented spots. This is exactly how it is. Here the angle was 360 degrees open, and then you can make whatever comments you want to make. So, there is no need to sort of grade the angle. So, what does it take to master it? It is practice, practice and only practice, where you can, I always say that if you can master phaco, gonioscopy can definitely be mastered, it only takes your will to do it. So, how do you classify angle closure? Primary angle closure suspect, when you see a closed angle, if you have any sign which says that there was intermittent angle closure and adhesion, then it goes straight away to primary angle closure. If you see only closed angles with no other signs, it is primary angle closure suspect. Then you have primary angle closure where intraocular pressure may or may not be high, and you may or may not see signs suggestive of synechial closure. And the last is primary angle closure glaucoma, where you not only have closed angles and raised IOP, but you also have optic nerve damage. So, why do we need to classify? Because you know what you need to do. Primary angle closure suspects can be observed. Primary angle closure, you advise iridotomy, and primary angle closure glaucoma, in them you have to treat it as glaucoma with medications with iridotomy and then proceed as the case may be. Many patients, many ophthalmologists ask me, he has mild angle closure. I say there is nothing like mild angle closure. You should have these three. You classify the patient into these three and you will know what to do. You will not need to ask anybody. So, one thing which I want to say is, how did you perform gonioscopy during PG training was one of the questions, and 1/4, more than 1/4 had not done gonioscopy during PG training. So, this seems to be one more reason why people don't do gonioscopy in their practice, because they have not been trained during their PG level. So, gonioscopy is an essential skill. You only should have a will to learn. AC depth and anterior segment OCT are not surrogates for gonioscopy. Indentation gonioscopy is preferable. Request help from your glaucoma colleagues. They will definitely come to your clinic and help you once or twice to get started, and practice, practice, practice. So, thank you all for a very patient listening.